Thanks for joining us today as we demonstrate the latest integration in PlantPredict featuring soiling data from our partner Fracsun. We'll begin today's webinar with some quick introductions to our presenters and companies, give a quick refresher as to why soiling matters, and then jump into some technical content about Fracsun's methodology for their data. Next, we'll demonstrate how to use the Fracsun data within PlantPredict and what a difference monthly versus daily soiling data can make in your energy predictions. Finally, stick around for our live Q&A and feel free to submit your questions anytime during our webinar. So with that, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. From Terabase, we have David Spieldenner, Director of Sales for PlantPredict, and our special guest, Kathleen Mattheis, CEO and founder of Fracsun. And now I'll hand it over to David.
Thank you, Rafal. So on this slide, you're going to see that at Terabase, we are building digital and physical solutions to accelerate the deployment of utility-scale solar and hybrid generation assets. First, on the left, we have our software and services for the development and pre-construction phase of the project. Central to this is PlantPredict, our solar energy modeling engine. We've been expanding PlantPredict into a full suite of professional design tools, including layout automation, material estimation, economic modeling, and grading analysis. We also have construction products and services, including a construction management and monitoring software, which we call Construct. For the physical world, we offer an automation solution called TerraFab, where we bring a mobile factory to your project site, complete with an assembly line and rovers to automate the module to torque tube to pile assembly. And finally, we have our operations technology team that provides a full set of SCADA and control solutions for solar and hybrid plants. Now in yellow, you're going to see we have total volume of deployment in watts, tera, giga, and megawatts that are supported by our different products to date. So moving on to our next slide, we're going to dive into the PlantPredict suite of products. Let's start with our core product. PlantPredict is a cloud-based, modern energy model built specifically for modeling utility-scale solar and hybrid plants, with a long track record and continuous benchmarking against operating assets at the gigawatt scale. In the middle, we have our Pro and Enterprise products. We call these products our Pro tools, which sit on top of the PlantPredict bankable energy model. You can use them to perform sophisticated studies easily and quickly from within your browser. Design Pro generates a detailed layout, BOQ, cost estimate, and financial model for your project, and allows you the ability to run batch of scenarios to find the optimal configuration. Voltage Pro is designed to enable simulation-based string sizing analysis. Terrain Pro, it's our latest Pro tool, and it's where we've been investing a lot of our resources lately. Drastically simplifies the process of generating an earthwork assessment for your project site, and it's specifically designed to assist in the evaluation of terrain following trackers. At the Pro and Enterprise tier level, your team have access to all these tools. Now on the right-hand side of the slide, we have our extensions. The first extension is our CAD Ready extension. This allows you to connect Terrain Pro into your CAD-based workflows. You can upload your power plant designs and topo data using your choice of 3 different CAD-compatible file formats. Finally, we offer API access to our energy model, as well as our earthwork assessment model for custom application development. For those organizations that prefer to develop your own digital solutions, but see value in integrating these models, please contact us for more details. At this point, I'm going to hand the mic over to our guest, Kathleen, to share a little bit about Fracsun and why soiling matters.
Hey all, thanks for being here. So for those of you that don't know, Fracsun is focused on measuring and monitoring and managing soiling loss. Our core product is, of course, the sensor that kind of drives it all, and that is Aries, which is a comparative large area reference cell based soiling monitoring sensor. It does this by measuring irradiance on 2 very large reference cells compared to the industry standard, one of which is cleaned every single day. It's about as simple as it can get. where this gets really interesting is when we dive that into our software tools and process a lot of that data and make a lot of that data much more actionable for O&M teams or asset management teams, and as we'll see in this webinar, for modelers that are planning projects in the development phase. So in our software tools, we have our data portal, which I will run a quick demo of, and that is where we bring all this data in from the sensor. We process it quite a bit to minimize the amount of work that analysts need to do to make sense of that data, as well as offering forecasting and optimizing calculators in there for determining optimal cleaning schedules and things like that. The new tool that we're going to be introducing today is CLEO AI. And what CLEO is kind of the ultimate goal of this company from the very beginning, because I was sitting where a lot of you are now sitting, trying to model projects and not having any data for soiling loss to punch in that spot, where you need to add it in there. And no one really knew at that time. And this was back in probably 2008. So we set about building that database, and the way to do it, we had to build the sensor first, of course. And now that we have thousands of sensors out in the field, we are using that data to train the CLEO AI. And so it is essentially a ground-tuned model for soiling loss. It is learning from our entire database of available sensors, as well as EPA weather data, NOAA weather data, and things like that, to spit out like a TMY, essentially. And then in addition to that, we do offer soiling loss reports. That's real ground-based measurements for situations where you may not have the resources to deploy a resource assessment years before a project is going out. We can, if we have a sensor nearby enough to a project location, we can develop a report out of that asset, as well as APIs for both modeled and actual soiling loss, spitting out from either CLEO or from our actual loss database for asset management platforms and things like this, like PlantPredict. Okay, so why soiling matters. I think we'll get into a lot of this in the Q&A for sure. I'm sure most people on this call kind of have a good idea of why soiling loss matters, especially at this upfront stage. So of course, it's a major uncertainty in yield forecasts, right? So whenever we're trying to model something, our the sales and marketing team is saying, get the production as high as possible. The finance teams and the banks are saying, make it as realistic as possible. And you're sitting there in the middle with like, I need to get this down to 2% accuracy, yet I'm going to have this massive uncertainty where soiling loss comes from, of course, right? So the number one thing is understanding that soiling loss early and having a really good value for that loss. And then, of course, downstream, like how it impacts projects. The analogy I like to use is if you're only a couple degrees off of a target, once you get downrange a half a mile, that shot is going to be off by 30 feet, right? So making sure we avoid that as much as possible when we're estimating soiling loss is really key. So what I like to say is, measure early, model accurately, forecast realistically, operate smoothly, right? It's catchy. It's like, we're working on it. But the nice thing about that is we've already done the measure early part for you and the rest of the industry. So what we'll go through here is how we have moved into that next stage of modeling accurately through CLEO.
All right, we are at poll question number 1. We're going to drop our cameras because we're going to go into demonstration mode after this. So I'm going to turn my camera off. So poll question number 1. How do you currently estimate future soiling losses for your PV project? Do you assume a fixed yearly average like 2%, rely on personal or industry experience, use a custom spreadsheet model, model soiling losses using PVlib or similar, or conduct a soiling measurement campaign? So go ahead and answer the question. We'll give it just a little bit of time here as the responses come in. All right, keep on answering, and we will end and share results right about now. All right, so you should see the results on your screen at this point. So it's kind of even across the board. It looks like we have 8 or 24% responses saying they just use a fixed rate, and the same number, the same percentage does a soiling measurement campaign, which is great. And from there, we go down to spreadsheet model, personal experience, and or using a soiling loss model. All right. So we will close the poll at this point. All right, back over to you, Callum.
Awesome, thank you. So I am going to jump into our dashboard here. And I think this is a really good place to start because in order to know how CLEO has kind of been built up over time, it's kind of important to know where that data comes from. So I am here in our data portal demo, and I will start at the bottom is where I usually start because irradiance data is what drives this whole model. And if I just pick kind of a random time in here and zoom in, I will pull in, more higher fidelity weather irradiance data, sorry. And one thing I like to point out here is the Aries sensor is measuring irradiance on a 5-minute interval basis. So we see how soiling kind of manifests on a glass surface throughout the day. And this is important because, as a lot of studies that are going on have proven, soiling loss with a fixed amount of material on a glass surface will vary depending on that incident angle. And you can see that very clearly with our sensor. If you're using sensors that are only measuring once per day, or maybe just measuring normal to a glass surface, there's quite a bit of this information that goes missing and can throw off results pretty substantially. So from here, we take this and we integrate these two curves up into an insolation value. And that insolation value is what's going to drive our daily loss. We do a lot of trimming on that data as well. So measurements below 250 watts per square meter, transient shading values get trimmed off as well, so that we can come up with eventually a very clean soiling loss number. In this portal, you can also overlay precipitation data, wind data, things like that. That's all pulled in via API. I bring this up because we have, thousands of locations now that we're monitoring with years of data, and we're using this data mostly to find that unknown in a lot of the models that exist today, which is the soiling rate. And the soiling rate is a very seasonal value. It is the rate of accumulation of soiling loss on a per day basis. This site is in the California Central Valley, so it's a poster child for soiling loss. You get really high rates in the late summer. You tend to get kind of moderate rates in the early spring. And knowing this is the key to kind of figuring out how to build up a ground-tuned soiling loss model. So from here, I will jump into our CLEO portal. And once you log into CLEO, it's going to give you a number of simulations that you have either per month or remaining on a trial, and ask you to enter a location. So you can enter any location, being as how we were just looking at Central Valley, California data. I'll pull up Fresno, California. And when we run this, it's now looking at all that weather data that we're bringing in from the EPA and from NOAA, as well as our database for information about how much rain it takes to clean the array and how that soiling rate kind of evolves over a period of time through the season. And it's going to spit out a TMY, so a typical year on a daily basis. We do have a bit like some uncertainty window here. This is based on distance to the nearest sensor that we have available, as well as uncertainty in the NOAA and EPA data itself as well. We can overlay PM data as well to kind of see how those are impacting soiling loss. And in addition to this daily value, David's going to be focused on the monthly values as well. So we give you the monthly values here at the bottom. This is what is being pulled into PlantPredict today, and as well as a full year average here. And we're going to highlight why, you know, I don't really want to put the full year average there because I don't really want people to use it, but we're going to highlight why, 7.88% in August is a lot costlier to your model than this 0.14% in March, where you're generating a lot more loss over here. And getting that fidelity into your model is going to really help kind of clean things up. That's what I got. David, go ahead.
All right, thanks, Kellen. So I think we are going into another poll question. All right, what interval of soiling data do you typically use for your predictions? So annual, monthly, daily, or hourly? Let's see what people are coming up with. So we'll give you just a few moments. And I don't think that anybody's going to be too surprised by the results of this survey. So we'll wait and see. All right. Rafal, are people seeing the poll results at
Yes.
this point? All right, great. So monthly, overwhelming majority, almost 70% of the people are using monthly values. Not surprised. A few people are using daily values, which is kind of cool. So, all right, well, let's get into PlantPredict. All right. I'm going to share my screen. All right, there's PlantPredict. All right, what you're seeing on my screen right now is PlantPredict, and I've got a fairly fresh account set up here. So whenever somebody registers for PlantPredict, we always give a video out that shows you how to do your first project. So I'm going to use this first project as our base project. It's a project near Antioch, California. If I open this up, you're going to see basically the first project design that we always show people how to do. It's if I switch over into satellite view, you're going to see that this is a deserty area. It's in Northern California, but definitely there's going to be some soiling issues here on this site. All right. If I go into the weather data, this is where the soiling loss information is. So you're going to see here we have 2% every month of the year going down there. So that's the PlantPredict default. Now what I'm going to do in this demonstration, actually I'm going to go back out to my project list. I cloned my first project. So I've got a second project that's a clone of that project. So I've got that Antioch project in there. That's this map builder. But then I've actually cloned the map builder project and turned it into a block builder. So a block builder project or block builder prediction shows a little bit more detailed electrical view of the power plant. So you don't see the map view, you don't see the layout, but you see the electrical construct of that power plant that we had on there. So I'm going to use that for building on to this demonstration, mostly because it just clones faster. I don't have to clone all that map-based data, and I'm going to do several clones here. And so I want it to be as smooth as possible for you guys watching this. All right, so just to highlight, once again, this has got 2% soiling loss across the months. If I look at the energy results here, you're going to see soiling shows up in our loss tree right here. We're right around 2%. It's actually 1.86 in this loss tree. All right, so the first thing I want to do is let's clone this prediction, and we are going to bring in CLEO location-specific soiling loss values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this clone with CLEO monthly. Come in here. So the way that you pull in the CLEO data is you click on this show soiling import dropdown and you select this import Fracsun CLEO soiling. It calls out to Fracsun's API, and within a matter of seconds, it brings back location-specific soiling loss values. So check this out. Quite a bit different than 2%. In fact, we even get up to 21% in August. So that's going to be quite a bit different. And you can imagine August is a is an area is a time of the year that we have really high irradiance. So that level of soiling loss in August is going to have an impact. So I'm going to save and close this, and then I'm going to kick off the prediction. So what PlantPredict is going to do now is going to take that power plant model. It's going to take all the input parameters, including my soiling loss values. It's going to take the weather file that I had on that weather data screen, bring that together and run an energy prediction, and then we're going to be able to review those results. All right, first thing I want to do is just click on this view results. You're going to notice soiling is now up to 7% loss. So that's having a pretty significant impact. But I want to show you when I go back to the project level, I get this compare multiple results option. I'm going to click on that. We're going to compare the CLEO monthly with my block builder base. All right, this does a really nice side-by-side comparison view. So on the left-hand side is my CLEO monthly, and on my right-hand side is my block builder base. And we're going to scroll down to the results section. So just looking at the straight-up energy, plant net energy in the form of gigawatt hours, we're losing about 4 gigawatt hours of electricity because of that 7% soiling loss. And if you look at your specific yield, it's almost 100 basis points difference. So if you're modeling this power plant using 2% soiling loss, you're just way off. Quite frankly, you're just way off. All right, so another way to look at this is using this charting tool. So if I click on the chart and I go to the monthly value, you're going to see this is the plant net energy. It looks like the power plant is trending pretty much aligned between the block builder base and the monthly values until we get to the summer. We'll call that soiling season. So June, July, August, and September, that's when we see the biggest deviation with the location-specific soiling loss values. And then it kind of levels back out in October, November, and December. All right, so one thing that's really cool about CLEO, and I just want to highlight that everybody on this call can go and register for a CLEO account. You're going to automatically get 3 free simulations. You got to check that out. It's super easy to use, super handy. All right, so I've got a CLEO simulation for this specific project location. I put the latitude and longitude in here, so you can use the search by latitude, longitude instead. I put the latitude, longitude of my project site. So this is right on top of my project site. If you look at these soiling loss values from a monthly standpoint, there's that August 21%. So we get the monthly values. But what I really like is in this hamburger menu up here in the upper right-hand corner of the chart, you can click on that and you can switch this over to a line chart, which is nice. Not a whole lot different, but just different. You can generate a report. This is great because instead of, if I wanted to download this report, it's a very professional looking report. I like that. But I especially like this CSV download. When I click download CSV, what this is going to do is it's going to give me daily soiling values. All right. Now with PlantPredict, what I can do is I can take and upload these daily soiling values into my weather file and actually do this soiling modeling on a daily basis. And I want to demonstrate how you can do that. All right, first thing I have to do, I'm going to come back over to PlantPredict and I'm going to open up this prediction. I'm going to go into the weather data. This is my media norm weather file that I've been using. I'm going to right click on that and say open link in new tab. This is going to open that media norm weather file in this second tab. And in the upper right-hand corner, we have a export option. When I click that export option, it's going to take the weather data from this weather file, and it's going to put it into a Excel file that I can open up. I'm going to open up this media norm Excel file. Now, one problem we have is the CLEO data is daily, and the media norm weather data is in hourly. So I've got to do a conversion of the daily data to hourly data. All right, so let me show you how to do this. Kind Catlin and I have created an Excel tool that we're happy to share with anybody on this call if you would like. You can take, here I'm going to change my format of my date and time, or date value, and turn it into something that's human readable. All right, so we've created a tool that we're happy to share that will convert the CLEO daily values. So I'm going to take Control Shift and Control C to copy that. And then I'm going to come into this tool, select A2, Control V. I'm going to paste that in. So now I've got all my daily values, and we've already done the work to convert that into hourly values on the second tab here. Like I said, we'll share this with you just in the comment section as you're exiting the call. If you want this tool, we'll send it to you. Just let us know. All right, so looking at this, we have to go all the way to the 13th of the month before we start seeing any soiling on this. So if I come over here, I'm going to scroll down to column C is the day. When I get down to 13, you'll see the soiling loss values in hourly format. So we got 24 hours of soiling data. All right. So now what I'm going to do is go up to the top, select E2, hit Control Shift, arrow down, select all of that. Now I'm going to go Control C to copy that. I'm going to go over to my media norm file. So soiling loss data is in column N. So I'm putting my cursor into N4, and then I'm right clicking, and I'm going to do paste special values. So I don't want to bring in that blue color. And now if I scroll down to the 13th, we should see those values in this file. There it is, 0.174. If I scroll down even further, we'll see that beginning in the 18th and so on, we've got soiling values. All right, so that's great. I'm going to save that. So now I've got my soiling values inside my weather file. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my weather library, and I'm going to click this Add New Weather, and then this Upload Your Own Weather File. When I click Select File, it's going to open a little browser thing. I can select my media norm weather file and open. This is our weather file import wizard. It's really a handy tool. It's been tuned for this, so it's going to automatically, it parses out your latitude, longitude. So you just have to hit continue import. It automatically detects who the provider is, what the wind sensor height is, P level, continue import. And then this is where you map the columns in the file with PlantPredict. And the wizard is really smart. So it detected that I had soiling data in column 14. So over here is soiling loss. You can see it's already mapped that for me. I don't even have to do anything. I just hit continue import. And then last but not least is our quality check screen. This, I don't really have to do anything here either, so I'm going to hit continue import. And here is the media norm file that we had downloaded, but now it has soiling loss data in here. So I'm going to rename this so that I know that it's got soiling data. So I'm going to just put soiling -media norm. All right, and save. All right, so this has gone into my weather library as draft private, meaning I'm the only one who can see it, but it is still editable. And I'm going to use that. I'm going to come back over here to my prediction. And I am going to clone this monthly simulation, and I'm going to rename it CLEO Daily. All right, so now when I go into my weather file, I'm going to refresh my browser. This is kind of important. I've figured this out as I was preparing for this. In order to get that new weather file into my memory, into the cache of my browser, I do have to do a refresh in here. So now when I hit change selection, I'm going to turn off global and active and look for draft private, because remember I said that was a draft private. There it is, soiling media norm, save selection. All right. Now, Notice my soiling loss column down here is grayed out. It's grayed out because under environmental model controls, we have soiling set to weather file. So this is where PlantPredict looks to see, am I using the weather file for my soiling values, my monthly override, or am I just saying I don't care about soiling at all and I'm going to just say none? I want to use my weather file. So save and close and run prediction. All right, so that's the whole process of working with a weather file, like exporting a weather file, updating the values in it, and then re-uploading it into PlantPredict. I don't know if we've ever demonstrated that in a webinar before. And so I'm really glad that I just had an opportunity to show everybody how you can take and modify the weather data in PlantPredict so easily. All right, so now that that's done, we're going to do a comparison. So compare multiple results. We're going to look at the daily versus the monthly. And let's see what kind of a difference daily values have on monthly. All right. Total net energy, 75.06, 75.17. Not that big of an impact. If we look at specific yield, we're talking 3 basis points. So it's not having a significant impact. However, it does have an impact. All right, so I'm going to switch this over to daily. All right, and we're now looking at January. Oh, let's look at monthly. I'm sorry. Let's look at monthly first. So when we look at this on a monthly comparison, the purple, if I turn off the purple, you'll see the green is right underneath the purple. So the purple is the monthly, the green is the daily. They're right on top of each other, except for September. So September is the 1 month where it looks like we do have a bit of a difference between the values coming out of the software. So if I go to daily, and I jump into September, we're going to see what happens here. So notice the purple is our monthly soiling values on a daily basis, and the green is the daily values on a daily basis. Notice here, right around the 18th, they switch positions. So that's telling me that like average monthly soiling value ends up being a little low compared to what we're seeing on a daily basis in the end of the month. So it could have a big impact if you're really trying to get precision. If you're at that stage of your modeling that you want to get precision, it could have a pretty big impact. All right, so I'm going to exit out of there. Now, the next thing that I want to demonstrate is what if you want to do some cleaning? What if you want to try to minimize your soiling loss and do some cleaning? I'm just going to show you some rule of thumb methods that you can use to just understand how you can employ some cleaning techniques and cleaning methodologies and reduce some of that soiling loss. So I'm going to go back to my CLEO monthly, and I'm going to clone this. Imagine we just want to do the bare minimum, which is 1 cleaning per year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my weather data, and you can actually modify your soiling loss values after you've imported them. So I'm going to do that. August is our biggest month of soiling loss, 21%. So I'm going to take and imagine that I'm going to employ a single cleaning in August to reduce this in half. So now I'm going to take that from 21 down to 11%, because if you could imagine, we're probably going to get up. We're going to get some soiling in the beginning of the month, then we're going to do our cleaning. It's going to drop down to 0, and then it's going to start building again. So that's what I'm going to model here just by cutting that number in half. Let's see what an impact on the production just 1 cleaning is going to have. We can do that very quickly, very easily in a matter of seconds. Oh, while that's running, I'm going to rename this because I forgot to do that. Let's do 1 cleaning. All right, there we go. Okay, so now if I go back to my project view and I hit this comparison, I'm going to compare my 1 cleaning with my monthly. Scroll down to my results section. That 1 cleaning actually gets us an entire gigawatt hour of additional electricity out of the system. It takes our specific yield from 1906 to 1929. So not sure how much that cleaning is going to cost, but from an energy production perspective, it's going to make a pretty big impact. If I go to my chart view and I look at the monthly values, you can see here, there's that increase in production coming in the month of August. All right. Now, what if we wanted to do an actual soil management program during the soiling season? I'm going to clone this one cleaning prediction. We're going to rename this from one cleaning to soiling management. All right. And I'm going to take and reduce the soiling loss in each of the months of our soiling loss season. I'm going to basically cut them in half. And so now I'm basically cleaning 4 times instead of 1 time. And that's really what I'm meaning by my soiling management system. I'm not talking about how you want to clean it. We did a webinar about 6 months ago with some really good friends of ours at PV Radar. They have some awesome software to help you understand what's the most cost-effective soiling management program to employ on your site. If you haven't seen that webinar, it's on our website. I strongly encourage you to check it out. They're going to be with us at PVPMC. We're all friends between the Fracsun, PV Radar team, and PlantPredict, so definitely you want to check that out. I'm just giving you the bare minimums, the basics. This is a much simpler method than what you would get if you use PV Radar. But let's check this out. So I'm going to compare multiple results, and this time I'm going to use my soiling management, my one cleaning, my monthly, and I'm going to use my block builder case, and I am going to compare all 4 of these results at the same time. You can compare up to 6. And what we're going to do is scroll down here to the soiling management and check this out. So we almost get back to that base 2% model with the soiling management. We clawed back another 1.6 gigawatt hours of electricity. Our specific yield is up to 1971. That's only 35-ish off of our 2% base. And so it then just comes down to cost. You know, what's the difference in cost between the soiling management and the single cleaning versus just not doing any cleaning? Let's look at this from a charting standpoint. I really like this view. So here you got the blue is our base model. So that's just 2% soiling across the board. The orange is no cleaning whatsoever, just letting the soil, let the dust lie where it lies. The purple is doing 1 cleaning, so there you got that little boost of energy in August because we cleaned in August. And then the green is our soiling management program. You can see how that splits the difference. All right. If this is another feature that I just want to showcase, if you want to get this data out in Excel, you can click this Export Comparison XLSX. This will take all 4 of the predictions that we're comparing in this side-by-side view. And it's going to put this data into Excel so that you can maybe run your own calculations or do whatever with it. Taking a second to load. Come on, Excel. There we go. All right, I'm going to click Enable Editing. All right, then click up here, double click to expand my column so that it's a little easier to read. There you go. All that comparison data in Excel. You can do your own calculations. Right down here, we have our plant net energy, just like we were seeing on the screen. Here's your specific yield. What's really cool about this export is we also give you your 8760. So you get all 8,760 hours of the year down here at the bottom. So you could take and do your own charting if you would like using that Excel tool. All right. I don't need to save it. All right. With that, that is our demonstration. So what I am going to do is I'm going to stop my sharing. All right, Rafal, I think we're going into our next poll question. All right, Who should be responsible for defining a cleaning strategy? So I just showed you some cleaning strategies analysis capabilities. So tell me, who do you think should be responsible for defining a cleaning strategy? We have our project developer, the EPC, the actual investor, whoever's putting up the money, your O&M, either your EPC providing O&M or your O&M provider, or your asset management partner. All right, we'll give you a little bit of time to fill this out. Let me know, who do you think should be responsible for defining your cleaning strategy? All right. All right, the results are starting to start to slow down, so I'm going to click end and share results. All right, what you're seeing on the screen, almost half of you say your asset management partner should be defining your cleaning strategy. Some 30% said the O&M. I think that that's kind of very similar people. A few people say project developer, and we actually had one respondent say the investor should be, because definitely they're putting the money out there. So there you have it. We'll close that. All right. We're going back to our presentation. We just have a few final things to go over before we go into our Q&A. So go ahead, Rafal, you can share that. All right, closing notes for PlantPredict. I know that a lot of people on this webinar are existing PlantPredict customers and users. That's fantastic. I just encourage you to try out the CLEO integration. Go into the weather thing. If you haven't done it before, it's super easy. Now, you do have to be a subscriber to get that access. The free version does not give you access. If you want a free trial so that you can try it out, just let me know. I'm happy to help you out with that. Give it a try. I also encourage you, and I know Caitlin's going to encourage you, sign up for CLEO. You get 3 free simulations. If you're working on a project right now, try that out. If you are not a PlantPredict user, if you came to this because you're familiar with Fracsun or whatnot, or you saw it on LinkedIn, go to PlantPredict.com. That is our product website. From there, you can sign up for PlantPredict. It's completely free. We have a free version. You can schedule a meeting with me. I give you access to my entire calendar. You can just pick a time that's convenient for you. And you can request a free trial, see our pricing. We put it right on our website, all of our documentation, screenshots of the application, all on PlantPredict.com. We do have an abbreviated version of our pricing on here, so you can get a glimpse. We have our core product and our pro product. Those are like our main products. We have a user-based pricing scheme. So it's based upon the number of users. All of that's on our website, and I'm happy to explain it if you schedule a demo with me. Our team is going to be at Intersolar Europe. So for any of you who are here from Europe, or maybe if you're in the States and you're traveling to Europe, or maybe you're in Africa or Middle East, stop by our booth. It's booth A3620. I am not going to be there, but my Vice President Tang is. He would be happy to meet with you. Would love to talk to you. Our CEO, Matt Campbell, is going to be there, and we have quite a group going over there for that show. Now, I will be personally at the PVPMC workshop in Albuquerque. It's my favorite show of or conference of the year. We are gold sponsors, so I'm really happy about that. We'll be hosting a happy hour on Monday night, so please book your flights and get in a little early. It'll be right there at the main hotel where the show is taking place. We are also going to be putting on an API SDK workshop. So we're going to show you guys how to use PlantPredict's API and our Python SDK to run predictions automatically or programmatically. And we'll also be doing an office hour session. So if anybody wants to get their questions answered on site, we'll be doing that. We also have some speaking slots. Jason and Arthur, I think, are going to be doing some talks. And you'll also get a chance to see Caitlin there as well. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Caitlin, and he can do his closing notes.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming, of course. Closing for us, like definitely we want you guys to get in there and register for CLEO for the free trial and try it out for your projects. The ability to get in there and like see, what you can see in there, like is really important for like maybe comparing 2 different regions that you've always had questions about or something. really put it to the test and send us questions. We're eager to, always be refining it and everything. I think I saw a question in the stack recently that's kind of relevant here, but we are having a validation study going with that model as well with VDE. So the more eyeballs we get on it, the better that study can be. So that's important for us. And of course, our core product, if you guys are running measurement campaigns, solar resource assessment / we say soiling resource assessment campaigns, definitely reach out and let us know. We can help with that. And of course, connect with us at PBPMC. Any questions that we don't get to, feel free to just corner a member of the team and have at them. I included pricing for CLEO here at the bottom if you guys are interested in becoming more than a free trial user. And feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A.
All right, one final poll question before we jump into Q&A. So in the meantime, if you do have any questions, submit them now. We're gonna get to as many of them as we can in the next 10 minutes. So one final poll question here. When do you typically invest in determining a cleaning strategy and the associated soiling losses? During the development or preliminary design stage, during EPC bid stage, during detailed engineering, just prior to financial close, or just prior to the operations phase? All right, and we'll share the results now. So it looks like most of you selected detailed engineering and just prior to operations phase, followed by development and design. All right, and so we're gonna jump into our Q&A here. All right, we have several questions. Well, first of all, this webinar will be shared with all registrants and will be shared on the PlantPredict website. So that's plantpredict.com/webinars. But in the next 24 hours or so, you're going to get a link to this recording to share with your teams. And any questions we don't get into during this Q&A, we will answer individually via email. So wait for those answers, and both either the Fracsun team or the PlantPredict team will answer personally. All right. Several questions about whether or not snow losses are addressed here. Kathleen, you want to take that?
Yeah. I saw those popping up, and I expected them to pop up. So thank you to everyone who sent one of those questions in. The simple answer is that snow loss is not well represented in CLEO for a specific reason. So the Aries sensor is able to capture snow loss events on kind of a hourly basis. You will see snow shed from the sensor. It generally, due to our overwintering process, will shed from the quote unquote clean sensor first, and it will give us an instantaneous value for snow losses that, combining that with inverter output data, you are able to get a good measurement for snow loss using our sensor most of the time. The CLEO model, however, is using a 3-year average. So those events tend to be really instantaneous and are very attenuated by the averaging process of CLEO. So it doesn't show snow loss as well, but if you do want to get a good idea for snow losses, we do encourage you to reach out to our team. We can use some of our real ground-based measurement to give some insight there.
Yeah, and I want to jump in on kind of piggyback on what Caitlin's saying. So one of the enhancements to PlantPredict that's on the roadmap, and I think it's going to happen hopefully in the second quarter, is we're going to add another column for snow loss. And I know that there's some publicly available snow loss models that are out there. That is something that I'm expecting will be in PlantPredict here very soon, and I think that's going to be a really nice enhancement. Because today you got to use that soiling loss column to put in any kind of snow losses, and a lot of people think about those differently, and so that's something that we're looking forward to being able to offer through PlantPredict. And I know it's on the roadmap. I know it's in the near-term roadmap. So looking forward to that getting out there.
All right. Next question. Is coverage extended to Canada, the Americas, and other international locations?
Yeah, so great question. Currently, this is the kind of first iteration of CLEO, and we wanted to deploy it, validate it, get as many eyeballs on it to improve it as possible. Speaking of roadmaps, that is the next step for CLEO. So bringing in satellite particulate matter data is going to allow the model to go global, likely Q3 of this year, I would expect is when we would see that.
All right. Next question here. Do you have any kind of document that justifies the results and that can be attached to make a financial model?
Yeah, so bringing back that VDE study, that is in process now. The goal there is to kind of run that like a bankability study for the model. So that should be available soon.
All right. Let's see, David or Kathleen, do you guys see any other questions here? I'm looking through this long list, seeing what we haven't answered yet.
Yeah, well, I'll jump in. There was one about fixed table, and I think that is a good question. It's worth mentioning and bringing up here. So thank you to Julia for asking that. So our ground-based measurements tend to be deployed, well distributed around large markets for solar in the US currently. And so they also tend to have a mix of both tracking and fixed. That mix tends to be dictated by, how old the system is, i.e., was it built at a time when trackers were very expensive, or is it newer? And now everything out in a big open field tends to be a tracker for the most part, as well as like in urban environments, everything tends to be fixed, right? So the CLEO is being trained on this ground-based measurement data that tends to be influenced by the region in which it is measured. So inherently, it has kind of a decent mix of fixed versus tracker data in there. And so it does train on both. And definitely reach out. I'd be happy to share, some of that real data. We are running a couple studies now on the differences between accumulation for fixed tilt and tracking systems. So yeah, a great question. It does tend to be averaged across the board, kind of for both.
And I can also piggyback. So if the question is, can you run a fixed tilt simulation in PlantPredict? The answer is yes. So you can do both fixed and horizontal tracker modeling in PlantPredict. And so it's important. Now I want to flag, there's some questions that have come in kind of wondering about how the PlantPredict subscription and the CLEO subscription work together. So first off, if you have a paid PlantPredict subscription, we're talking even the lowest level, the PlantPredict individual monthly subscription, $125 a month, even at that level, you get access to the one button click monthly CLEO value data, and it's unlimited. So the people at Fracsun, Catlin, he's a very generous guy. He has allowed that PlantPredict subscribers can click that button as many times as you want and pull in location-specific monthly data. Now, that is only getting you the monthly data. It's not getting you the charts or anything like that. You need to go sign up for a CLEO subscription in order to be able to see the details, and to get the daily values, you got to go sign up. But you don't need to like subscribe to CLEO in order to be able to click that button. Just a PlantPredict subscription alone enables that button. And so we're not saying that's going to be how it is forever into the future, but definitely at this point in time, that's how it works. So it's a very powerful and generous capability that Fracsun has enabled through PlantPredict, and so we hope that you guys take advantage of it.
All right, I'll do a couple more questions here. Does your model rely on dynamics, particulate diameter, or just PM 2.5 and PM 10?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it does also fall in line a little bit with a couple questions about what the model's based on, where the data comes from. So maybe I'll try to cover all three of those in this response. So the model is essentially trained using a machine learning process to determine which values have the greatest impact on soiling when comparing actual soiling data to those values in, for example, the EPA data set. So it does use the pure value for just PM 2.5 and PM 10 because those are what's available from the EPA. Can it be trained on other data? It definitely could be. It just isn't currently. And to the questions on what model it's based on and how the data is collected, we did cover it a little bit here in the beginning of this webinar, which I encourage you to go back in the recording and check it out. But essentially, we measure ground-based soiling loss at sites all over the US and the world, currently in 29 countries, over 15 gigawatts. And we're taking that ground-based measurement and putting it into a machine learning model along with the NOAA and EPA weather data to train how those two data sets interact and what impacts soiling loss the most. So to answer the modeling question, it's not necessarily based on an existing model in the past, in terms of like a physical model, or one of the models like HSU or Kimber that have existed in the past. It's purely looking at how those data sets interact. And yeah, I think it covered how where it comes from is essentially those two publicly available data sets as well as our ground-based database.
All right, with that, we're a couple minutes to the top of the hour, so we'll end it here. But if you do want that Excel file, drop a comment right here in the questions box. Just mention, send me the Excel file. You'll also get some survey questions at the end of this webinar. So if you want to just write in, send me the Excel file, or if you have any questions for Fracsun or PlantPredict, submit those questions there. We will answer all of them individually. Otherwise, thank you for joining us and have a good rest of your day.